Welcome back, listeners, to another deep dive. Today, we're going way back, like way back to ancient Scandinavian legends.
Really venturing into the mists of time this time.
We are, and we're talking murder, betrayal, a little bit of feigned madness, and, ultimately revenge.
All the good stuff.
Oh, yeah, all the ingredients for a great story, right?
Classic.
Exactly. And we've got two main sources for this journey. We have Saxo Grammaticus Gesta Danorum, which is a 13th century Latin history of the Danes, and then, of course,
The big one. The OG.
Shakespeare's Hamlet, of course, super famous play. But here's the question we'll be exploring today. Is Shakespeare's masterpiece like a direct adaptation of the original Amleth saga? Or is it something a little bit more well-inspired?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question.
It is.
One that has kept scholars busy for centuries, I'd say.
Rightfully so.
There are a lot of really undeniable echoes between the two.
For sure.
But before we go there, why don't we start at the source?
Okay, yeah.
Amleth's story.
As told by?
As told by Saxo Grammaticus.
Yeah, perfect. So set the scene for us. Who is this Amleth guy, and what kind of world is he living in?
All right, so picture, if you will, the very rugged landscape of ancient Denmark.
Okay.
A world of warriors,
Okay.
political intrigue.
Lots of gaming.
Yeah. And Amleth is a prince, the son of the recently murdered King Horwendel.
Recently murdered. Okay.
Yeah, big problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
The killer, none other than his own brother, Feng.
Okay, so we've got some family drama going on already.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And to add insult to injury, right after this murder, Feng goes ahead and he takes the throne and he marries Amleth's mother, Gareth.
Oh, wow.
It's a hostile takeover.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It is.
So how does young Amleth react to all of this? I mean, I think I'd be out for blood, honestly, if I were him.
Yeah, it would be a normal reaction, right?
I think so.
But this is where Amleth's genius comes in.
Okay.
And
yeah.
maybe a little sprinkle of madness.
Ooh. Okay, right.
Amleth knows, that he can't just openly challenge Feng. Not right away, at least. So he decides to go a different route.
Okay.
A rather unorthodox path. He pretends to be insane.
Interesting.
Feigning madness.
Yeah, that is an interesting tactic for sure. So he's kind of playing the long game here, right? Biding his time.
Exactly. And Saxo really portrays Amleth as incredibly cunning, very smart.
Yeah.
He's not just acting mad. He's using it as a way to observe, plan, and then ultimately to outmaneuver all his enemies.
I like it.
Yeah, he's got this whole, long con going.
Looks good.
And Saxo actually gives us some pretty vivid examples of this. Back then they would often write on these wooden tablets, right?
Okay.
So Feng is trying to get rid of Amleth. So what's he do? He sends him off to England with a message. And this message is carved into wood. And it says that Amleth should be executed when he gets there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. Sneaky.
Very sneaky. Very sneaky.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
While his companions are sleeping, Amleth, he gets to that message, and he subtly changes it. What? Instead of it saying to kill him, it now says to kill the people who are escorting him.
Oh, wow.
So he's basically like, nope, not today.
That's amazing.
Right.
Talk about turning the tables.
Turning the tables.
I mean, this Amleth guy, he's a master strategist.
He's thinking ahead.
Yeah.
He's got it figured out.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's not just physical survival either.
Okay.
Like, he's using riddles and wordplay and everything to expose the hypocrisy of everyone at court.
Ooh, I like that.
All while, of course, keeping up this appearance of being mad, right?
Yeah, okay.
So he's constantly testing, probing, looking for just the right moment to strike.
So it's not just like brute force revenge.
No.
He's really trying to outsmart them.
Outsmart them, exactly. And that kind of adds another layer to his character, I think, too.
Yeah.
It's not just about, getting back at his father's killer. It's also about, reclaiming his rightful place.
Proving that he deserves to be there.
Proving his worth, exactly.
Yeah.
So all of this, obviously, it's building toward a final showdown with Feng, right?
Of course, yeah.
The big one.
The big one, yeah.
How does it all go down in Gesta Danorum?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, it all happens during, a giant feast.
Okay.
Amleth, he's still playing the madman. Remember, he kind of sets off this chain of events. It ultimately ends with this big fire that just engulfs the entire palace.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. And in the middle of all this chaos,
okay.
he finally confronts Feng,
okay.
kills him, and avenges his father.
Wow. That's intense.
Pretty epic ending.
Yeah, it is.
Right. So, in the Gesta Danorum, we see Amleth as this really decisive figure, super cunning,
Yeah.
and driven by this very clear sense of purpose.
Yeah.
He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't question.
He just acts.
He acts.
He gets things done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, that decisiveness is one of the things that really sets him apart from the Hamlet we see in Shakespeare's play.
Okay.
But before we dive into those comparisons, let's take a closer look at how Shakespeare reimagines this whole revenge saga, right?
Yes.
And how he just infuses it with all this psychological depth and philosophical questions.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, stepping into Shakespeare's world, it's really like entering a whole other dimension.
It is, yeah.
The basic stories there, right? Murdered king, vengeful son, treacherous uncle, all that.
Right.
But Shakespeare, he adds all this layers of introspection, moral complexity. It's just...
Yeah, and it's so fascinating how he takes this tale that's, originally about swift action revenge, and he turns it inward.
Right.
He makes us think about all the turmoil going on inside Hamlet's mind.
It's all about the internal struggle now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And right from that,
Haunting opening, right.
With
the
ghost of Hamlet's father.
Yeah.
Demanding vengeance.
Demanding that revenge.
We're just thrown into this world of uncertainty and doubt.
Yeah.
And Hamlet, he's hit with this demand for action, but he hesitates.
Yeah.
He questions everything.
He's like he's frozen.
He is. He's paralyzed by all the moral implications of revenge.
Right. And, that's what makes him so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Even all these centuries later.
For sure.
Because he's not this, superhero like Amleth.
Right.
He's like a real person with real problems.
A human being wrestling with his conscience.
Exactly.
It's that to be or not to be speech, right?
Yes.
That soliloquy.
So famous.
It's resonated with audiences forever.
Yes.
It's not just about revenge anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's about the very nature of life and death.
Yeah.
Action. Inaction.
Big questions.
Yeah, the big stuff.
Yeah, and it's not just Hamlet's inner world either.
No.
I mean, Shakespeare really fleshes out the whole supporting cast.
He does.
The relationships, everything is so much more intricate.
Absolutely.
Okay, Gertrude, for example, Hamlet's mother. In the Gesta Danorum, she's like totally in on it.
Complicit. Yeah.
Complicit in the king's murder.
Totally.
But in Hamlet, it's like, we don't really know.
It's ambiguous, yeah.
Her role is so ambiguous.
Right. We're left wondering, right?
Yeah.
Was she tricked by Claudius?
Mm-hmm.
Is she actually grieving for her husband? We don't know.
We just don't know.
Shakespeare is a master at adding those layers
He is.
of psychological depth.
Yeah.
She becomes this really complex and tragic figure.
Right. And the web of deceit is like...
Oh, it's so much thicker.
So much thicker.
It's Hamlet.
In Hamlet.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Polonius, right?
Always scheming.
Always scheming. Always spying.
Always listening at the door.
Yeah. And then there's Ophelia, of course.
Yeah, Ophelia.
This tragic romance.
Yeah.
And she's just caught in the middle of everything.
Caught in the crossfire of Hamlet's revenge plot.
Right. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, Shakespeare really raises the stakes, right?
He does.
By weaving in all these emotional threads.
Becomes about so much more than just politics.
Right.
It's about love. It's about loss, betrayal, the consequences of revenge.
It's like a domino effect.
It really is, yeah.
And speaking of consequences, one of the most, I think, striking differences between the two stories is the ending.
Oh, yeah.
Amleth's triumph in Gesta Danorum feels very, clean. Decisive, yeah. Like it's wrapped up in a neat little bow.
He got what he wanted, yeah.
But Hamlet hits a bloodbath.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah, a stage littered with bodies, including Hamlet himself.
It's tragic.
It's tragic.
Shakespeare doesn't shy away from showing us what that revenge cycle really does.
Right.
Everybody is touched by it.
Yeah.
Everybody suffers.
Even Hamlet.
Even in
abusing that justice.
He pays the ultimate price.
Yeah, it's such a stark contrast to Amleth's, big fiery victory.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's almost like Shakespeare saying, okay, yeah, you might get your revenge, but look what it cost you.
And everyone around you.
He makes us really confront those moral gray areas.
Yeah.
The messy truths about being human.
Yeah. There's no easy answers in Hamlet.
Yeah.
No clear-cut good guys and bad guys.
Nope, not at all.
So we have these two versions of the same story, right?
Yeah.
One that's all about action and just getting it done.
Decisiveness.
And then the other that really digs deep into
the human psyche.
The human psyche, yeah.
The mind.
It just begs the question, did Shakespeare directly adapt Gesta Danorum?
Yeah.
Or was it just, something he drew inspiration from?
It's the big question.
It is.
And I don't know if we can say for sure that Shakespeare sat down with a copy of the Gesta Danorum,
Right.
and just like went line by line
Yeah, copied it out.
and crafted Hamlet.
Right.
But the similarities,
They're hard to ignore.
they're too much to ignore.
Yeah.
Right? The plot, the characters, it's all there.
It's all there.
But Shakespeare, he takes it and he weaves it into something totally new.
Yeah, it's like he took this old revenge tale
Yeah.
and just injected it with, his genius. His
Absolutely.
understanding of what it means to be human.
Yeah, it's not just adaptation, it's transformation. He
Yeah.
added this psychological depth,
Yeah.
this philosophical weight,
Yeah.
and that just makes Hamlet
Timeless.
timeless, exactly.
Yeah. And, it resonates with us even now.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's so interesting, right,
Yeah.
to have these two interpretations that are so different,
Yeah,
but both still somehow captivate audiences.
yeah,
What is it about these stories, centuries apart,
yeah.
that speaks to us on such a fundamental level?
That's the question, isn't it?
I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
how these two stories, centuries apart, can still have such a powerful impact.
It really is. It's amazing how they've resonated through time.
It's like on one hand, you have Amleth,
Yeah.
this decisive, almost like mythical figure,
larger than life.
Yeah. purely driven by that need for revenge.
Yeah, he's got that single-minded focus.
He does. And then on the other hand, you have Hamlet,
Oh, Hamlet.
so introspective, always questioning everything.
Yeah, lost in thought.
Yeah, totally caught in this web of, his own thoughts and the moral complexities of his situation.
Like, which way is up, even?
Right. I feel like they represent almost like two sides of the human experience.
Yeah, definitely.
You have that drive to act, to take charge,
Mm-hmm.
versus that need to reflect, to really grapple with those bigger questions.
You got to weigh your options, sometimes think things through.
Yeah, for sure. And that difference in their characters, it's reflected in the tone of each story, too.
Yeah,
Right?
oh, absolutely.
Gesta Danorum.
Yeah.
It's just this thrilling, action-packed
Forward
or
plan.
narrative.
Yeah, what's happening. It's
Yeah.
a world of clear conflicts, decisive action.
You know who the bad guy is.
You know exactly who to root for.
Exactly. Whereas Hamlet,
Hamlet takes us on this journey.
yeah, it's a journey.
Through the twists and turns.
Yeah, through the labyrinth of the human psyche.
Exactly.
It's dark.
It's dark.
We see ambition,
Mm-hmm.
deceit, the weight of grief and loss.
Yeah, all those heavy things.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah, but that's what makes Hamlet so powerful, I think. Because
Yeah.
it's real. It's relatable.
Shakespeare just lays it all out there.
He does.
All those uncomfortable truths about human nature.
It's like he's holding up a mirror
Yeah,
to all of us.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is what we're capable of.
This is humanity.
Yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Exactly.
But despite all their differences,
Yeah,
both stories, they tap into these universal themes
definitely.
that just transcend time and culture.
Yeah, betrayal, revenge, the desire for justice.
Those are things everyone can relate to.
Exactly. I mean, we might not be facing the same dangers as Amleth
Right.
or struggling with the same philosophical questions as Hamlet.
Yeah, but we can still understand
We get it.
what they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about it, like in our own lives,
Mm-hmm.
how often do we see those same themes playing out?
All the time. Right.
Even if it's on a smaller scale.
Yeah, I mean, office politics,
Oh, yeah.
family drama.
Betrayals.
Yeah, those moments that just like shake our trust in people.
Totally. And in a world where we're just bombarded with information
Constantly.
constantly, yeah. And it's hard to even know what's true sometimes.
What to believe.
Yeah, these stories, they remind us how important it is to think critically.
To question everything.
Yeah, to not just accept things at face value,
Exactly. And to be okay with those gray areas.
the moral ambiguities.
Yeah, because life isn't black and white.
It's not.
It's messy.
It is.
And these stories, they embrace that messiness.
They do.
And I think that's what makes them so valuable.
Yeah, they give us something to think about.
Definitely.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Amleth and Hamlet,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this question. What would happen if Amleth was certainly dropped into our modern world?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, how would he handle it?
Would he be like a CEO?
Yeah, maybe a political strategist?
Some kind of master of the digital age?
Yeah, or would he be totally overwhelmed by it all?
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Right. Like, everything moves so fast.
And sometimes thinking things through isn't always an option.
Yeah, you gotta act quickly.
You gotta be on your toes.
What about Hamlet?
Oh, Hamlet.
Would he find some kind of solace
Yeah.
in our world?
In our world of, therapy and online forums where everyone's just overthinking everything.
Right.
Or would he just be completely paralyzed by it all?
Yeah, by the noise, the constant choices,
Too many options.
too many options.
Information overload.
It really makes you think.
It does. It does.
And I think that's the power of these stories, right?
Yeah.
They spark our imaginations.
They make us think critically.
They give us a glimpse into this, enduring
Yeah.
nature of what it means to be human.
Timeless.
Yeah, timeless.
Exactly.
So, listeners, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, keep the conversation going.
What parts of these tales really resonated with you?
What did you learn?
What insights did you get from exploring the worlds of Amleth and Hamlet?
Share your thoughts, your interpretations.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going.
Because that's what keeps these stories alive.
Relevant,
Yeah.
meaningful, even centuries after they were first told.
That's the beauty of it.
Thanks for joining us on another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.